Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's February 18th, 2022 revised order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 38, Section 18, meetings of the Berkshire Hills Regional School District School Committee will be conducted both in person and remote until further notice. In-person attendance is limited to R.S.D school committee members, superintendent, and district and school administrators. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted at this time. However, the meeting may be accessed remotely through Zoom with the coordinates on the agenda. Agenda items are those listed or those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed. Items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting is being recorded by CTSB and school committee reporter and will be broadcast. Once transcribed, approved minutes will be made public and posted to our website. So let's start with a roll call. Ann Hutchinson, perfect timing.
Here.
Perfect. Jason St. Peter.
Here.
I see Jason. Let's see.
He just said here.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Jason, are you there?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I do not.
Yes, I'm here.
Sean
Yeah.
Stephen.
Can you guys hear me?
I don't think the volume's working.
Yes,
That's what I'm worried about.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Sean.
But
Sean, I can hear you. It's
Because we
Jason.
heard
yeah, I can hear you,
Sean at the
Jason.
beginning.
Sean, can you hear us?
No, I can hear you, but you can't. hear me.
But no, on the thing, it's not. I think it's our volume here.
Yeah.
Just no on the computer.
Hello? We're gone now.
Is that better? No.
Is that, can you hear me at all? Jason, can
Sean,
you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sean, I can hear you and Diane.
Yeah, so the panelists who are remote cannot speak.
Sean, can you hear us now?
I can hear you, you can't hear.
You can hear us, we can't hear you.
Yeah. Sean, can you hear us?
I can hear you, you can't hear me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe turn the volume on, I was on the volume on my personal computer.
Is the volume on your computer on reach?
I turned it off.
Remote, yeah, I know. Sean, I know remote people can't be heard. I don't know.
Let's just turn on one of the computers, turn on the sound on your computer and see how that works.
Is somebody else in this room have their computer sound on? Sean, can you say something?
Hello? A nice space echo.
We can just get the.
Sean, can you still hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, so
Maybe we gotta ban the hour for all audio and just talk to our computer.
There's a big echo.
yeah. Is that better?
Nope.
No, still echo.
Turn that off.
I think so.
Okay. And is your laptop on?
No,
Is that better?
Yes, a little bit. Still an echo at the end.
Are the owls doing it to each other?
No, I think somebody's sound on their laptop is on.
I'm sure someone.
Is this working?
Rich, John, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Not much. And the echo's back.
Can you hear us now?
There's some sort of reverb in the
Not
microphone.
just a mute on your Zoom, like go to your actual volume on your computer and turn it off.
I don't join the audience. These are the choice not to join the audience.
Well,
Do I turn the owl off?
No, that sounds, you're better now. Are you hearing me? Now I'm not hearing you.
Is that better?
Now I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Houston, the problem is resolved. Sorry about that.
Okay, let's start over. Ann? Here. Jason?
Here.
Sean?
Yep, I'm here.
Bonnie?
Here.
Bill? Here. Diane?
Here.
Rich Tahoney? Present. And Steve Bannon, present. Okay, we've solved that problem for the moment. We have, first thing is minutes of March 31st, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
so
Second. So I have a motion by Bill and a second by Ann. Any discussion? All votes are roll call. Ann? Aye. Jason?
Aye.
Sean?
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Thank you. Bonnie?
Aye.
Thank you. Bill?
yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Rich?
Yeah.
And yes, it's unanimous. Go right into superintendent's report.
Okay, let me just pull up something. Katie Retzel's not able to join us, and she shared a couple quick things for me to share. The kindergarten registration night was well attended. Families were able to ask some questions and tour the classroom, and folks noted how nice it was to be in the building again. Screenings are in progress for kindergarten and early kindergarten students in the next 2 weeks. We're holding our first annual multicultural talent night next Wednesday at Muddy Brook. We have 9 acts so far and are planning great food as well. We hope that grows bigger every year. Katie wanted to especially thank her teachers after another trying year, as we're in the middle of Teacher Appreciation Week. So that's what's going on there. Ben.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, we're in the middle of Educator Appreciation Week, which is great. We have some nice celebrations with staff, some food for them, which is just a small token, and we have a lot of things educators to share their appreciation. Since we met when we had the most amazing musical, The Wizard of Oz, at the middle school. It was a real amazing success. We haven't had a musical in 2 years. 71 students, that's 10%, sorry, 20% of our student body participated in the musical, in the cast or the stage crew. It was really just an amazing production. A lot of accolades from families and the community, and the kids really just got into it. It's a real big part of our culture at school. We had a bunch of 8th graders go to the Strive Conference. That's a annual conference put on by the DA's office. It's a really great leadership conference. We try to pick students who are the leaders to be, the ones who aren't always jumping into everything, but actually really can appreciate some of the workshops that happen. We also sent some 8th graders to the Miss Hall's Financial Literacy for Girls workshop last week, and that was a real success. Lots of student groups that have been going on this year. Ones that have started up this late winter and spring is a social justice group that students wanted to start. We've really been focusing on some students who have had a lot of attention through the years. So the BIPOC group, that's our Black, Indigenous People of Color group, as well as a color focus group, which is really great. Our student council is back in swing with Miles Wheat, our assistant principal, leading that for the 5th and 6th graders and the 7th and 8th. We have a fundraiser for the student council, which is Du Bois gear, which is great. First time we're offering actually shirts and sweatshirts and sweatpants with Du Bois' name, as well as an image of W. Du Bois and some of the gear. And there are some dances and social gatherings for students. So that's pretty exciting. We're back in business. Audubon has been an amazing partner along with Flying Cloud Institute. We wrapped up some residencies with them, and now some field trips are happening. So 8th graders are going to do nature studies at the Audubon field area, and the 5th graders going on computer trips, which we have 2 years. Cinco de Mayo is today, celebrating the Spanish classes for our 7th and 8th graders. Next week, we have our PD, May 11th, half day. We're doing some department work, vertical teams, really thinking about some of the goals that folks are working on in 5th grade and all of our different departments. We also are working with Stoke to do an equity survey of what we've done this year with equity and inclusion, and we start thinking about planning for next year. Special Olympics is next week as well on May 11th. Really excited about that. We have our school going out, most of our schools going on to cheer on our student athletes in the Special Olympics. We just came off a planning call with Volunteers in Medicine, the Great Schools Partnership. We usually do, as always, a 4th grade kind of transition information night. We're also going to do what's called a Foro Familiar, which is the same information night for Spanish speaking families. So I'm really working hard with those groups to plan that out, and kind of rolls it up.
Great, thanks a bunch. And Julian, we'll go to you for the high school.
Excellent. So yes, luckily I have the job of getting all of the good news. I'll try and be short, but there's a lot has happened since we last met. This week and next week is Halloween. Oh, sorry, AP week. It's the culmination of all the hard work students and teachers have done, but it really is an awful 2 weeks. Students are getting through it, and the general consensus is that students are feeling prepared, and the hard work is sort of paying off. Exciting news is we just had our junior class talent show. We had students performing, we even had teachers performing. We started Hartcorn and Mr. Carlson, for those of you that are familiar with them, performed in a rock band, and members of our English department put on a skit. We have our spring performance of a musical coming up in the next 2 weeks. That's the Addams Family, and we should all go to support them. Tomorrow we have our spring band, orchestra, and chorus concert. Tonight we have our huge rivalry game with the Takana team, who is just all D1 commits, but we are rooting for our team to keep our undefeated 10-game streak going. Track and softball have had a few home games, and students have gone out to support. I think we've had a record number of students at track meets. We knew it was such a spectator event. Ultimate Frisbee has a huge tournament this weekend, and tennis continues to take down their opponents and work hard. Seniors have accepted a bunch of different offers and made sort of decisions on their plans for next year, but we'll hear a little bit more about that. But sort of the acceptances and decisions students have made, or whatever they're doing, whether it's college or not, is just reflective of sort of the hard work of our students and our guidance department and our teachers. Juniors who had applied in the winter for scholarships were just alerted of their awards. And then we have a number of student activities that are happening with this semi-formal dance. We have a huge game of tag with the Gold Star Ninja, with a dunk tank where teachers are even going to get involved, and then prom and graduation. So the overall feel of both students and faculties is sort of a very uplifting, cheery time, and an overall celebration of the work that students have done.
Great, thanks a bunch. That was a lot and really, really good. So the next thing on the agenda are a little communications update and potential proposal. We've met twice since we've met as a school committee. Once Bill, Corey, Sharon, and I met, and then tonight before this meeting, Bill, Rich, Sharon, and I met. Rich, do you want to give a little quick summary from tonight, or do you want me to do it? What's your?
Either way is fine.
Okay.
You go.
We're going to come back to the next meeting with a finalized job proposal slash work responsibilities plan. To preview it a little bit, we talked about a number of things, but there was broad consensus that we'd like to do some heavy lifting around Parent Square and try to start the school year with some real progress in that area. And then behind the scenes, do some work around analyzing our other communication practices and where we could do better. But we're looking forward to sharing that. I think we're largely on the same page and made quite a bit of progress. Rich, anything to add, or Bill?
I think there was also discussion about dealing with the website, the calendaring, and all that stuff, which is will be addressed.
Okay, great. So I'll move on. What I'm sharing tonight, and this is really hot off the presses and in some ways a little early, but two documents, and Julian mentioned this. Typically, May 1st is the day that students commit to colleges. So students had a whole range of choices and opportunities, and largely did that. And we don't even know all the details of it because May 1st was only a few days ago. But I'll share in a sec some early information about what students this year are doing. And I'll go through a bunch of different categories. It's interesting. And then last year, a little later, June or July, we went and did a 5-year longitudinal study. And I've got paper copies of that for people here, and I'll get it up on our website shortly, but that's also interesting. So let me share this year's first, and I'll walk you through it a little bit.
This is in the packet or not?
No, it's like hot off the presses. Okay. Oh, I thought I was the host.
You are, the Berkshire Hills Regional School District is host.
And are you a host, Steve?
I'm a co-host. I'm trying to.
Can you make the one of me individually a host?
You're a host now, Peter.
Okay, thanks so much. I appreciate that. Okay, so you should be able to see this. So this is our initial read on post-secondary plans from Monument. This year, it appears our big winners for number of students are UMass, Holy Cross, and Northeastern. And then students also going to American, Elon, Indiana, Nova Southeastern, Providence, the University of San Diego, the University of Vermont, Wisconsin, and Utah. So these are all large colleges or universities. And what I think is unique about this is really all over the country. As we go down, small colleges, often in the Northeast, but not always, Bennington, BCC, Clark, Colorado School of Mines, Endicott, Middlebury, Paul Smith, Skidmore, Simmons, and Wheaton. From a art and music perspective, Berkeley, Parsons, and SCAD, technical schools, Hudson Valley. In terms of work, apprenticeships and gap years, folks going into HVAC, plumbing, carpentry, and others, and a student joining the Marines. So that I think is a really interesting range. I'll show you the next one, though. It's a really sort of heavy duty spreadsheet, and it's too much probably to look at, but it's worth me referencing. So let me make it a little bit bigger. So this list looks at the last 5 years, not this year, and then has the 5-year total for all the schools. So BCC is our highest at 91, UMass Amherst at 31, Northeastern at 12, University of Vermont also at 12, Westfield State at 11, Western New England at 10, MCLA 8, Mass College of Design and Art, 8, 6 at Emmanuel, 6 at Hudson Valley Community College, 6 at Syracuse, 5 at BU, 5 at Middlebury, 5 at Siena, 5 at St. Lawrence, 5 at WPI, 4 at Berkeley, 4 at LaSalle, 4 at Lincoln Institute of Tech, 4 at Mount Holyoke, NYU, Pace, RIT, Skidmore, Springfield, the University of New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Tampa, Wheaton, and then we get down into the 3s, 2s, and 1s, and I won't go through all of them, but it's really quite remarkable and impressive. And as we get down from the 3s to the 2s, a number of kids to the new school, the University of Oregon, Williams, Bard, George Washington, Haverford, Hobart and William Smith, again, Holy Cross. So they'll become a 5 going forward. MIT, Providence, on and on. So I thought this was interesting. I'm not aware that we've done this before and looked at it over time. So we'll make this accessible on the website. They're paper copies here, and I think it's a real testament to the work students, staff, and families are doing. This is particularly a big year, particularly if you go back to the other one. This was a very hard year to both apply and get into college, with lots of the SAT, ACT things being waived. Many colleges saw a huge uptick in applications, and the folks who applied early, I think, were seriously advantaged in this process. So that's a little update on that. We'll share more from the class of 22 as it's finalized, and then we'll continue to update that big longitudinal list each year and share it going forward. Any questions or things folks are wondering about on that?
So we can update that every year?
Yeah, we'll update it every year, and we may keep it as a running total. I mean, we'll have the data, but we may keep it as a 5-year thing, or maybe cut it both ways and have it be a 10-year thing when we get to 10 years, as well as a 5-year thing.
Yeah, very impressive. Good.
Yeah, no, I think it's really neat. There's other stuff in the work that happened around the regional school district planning board. So the first thing you want to see is like where people are going, and then the second thing you want to see is are they staying there and graduating? And there's some sections in that report where our retention in college is also very good, which isn't always the case, right? And life gets complicated and finances get in the way, and school can just be hard. So that's something I feel good about too. Let me transition to COVID. So we're in the midst of a little surge again, and our district's not as dramatically hit as some others. So Pittsfield's having a tough time. Richmond right now is having a tough time, and Southern Berkshire's having a tough time, but it may just be a matter of time before we're hit with it additionally. There are a handful of cases in each building, and we're in a moment now where there are a number of staff in each building who are also getting it. So we'll continue to watch it. We'll keep an eye on it. Berkshire County is faring worse than the rest of Massachusetts for the time being. There's still booster shots available if people want to go that route, and there may be shots available for even younger kids soon. So we're monitoring it. I talked to the state about it. If people are sort of on the fence about wearing a mask or not, this might not be a bad time to wear a mask. and we'll see where we land going forward. The next thing that's in the packet is a letter that I'm proposing we send to Governor Baker, Senator Hines, and Representative Pignatelli. If you had a chance to look at the letter, during the pandemic, the federal government made universal meals or free meals universally available, right? So while often kids are entitled to free or reduced lunch, everybody during the last 2 years were eligible for free lunch. That federal funding is drying up, and what we're lobbying for is for the state to close the gap. The nice thing about it, and it's in the letter, is, and this is sort of obvious, right? Because meals were free, more people at all schools at both breakfast and lunch were participating in meals. And our general belief is that when people are well fed, they're happy and they're more engaged, right? And better ready to learn. So I'd like to send this letter on behalf of the school committee to join a long list of people that are advocating. And if somebody would like to make a motion to do so, that'd be great. And I'm happy to entertain any edits.
Make a motion that we approve sending the letter to the people that were named.
Second.
So a motion by Bill and a second by Rich. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Mhm.
This was funded by federal money, and the federal money is drying up. Why are we lobbying the state government? Why don't we ask the feds to keep paying for it?
I can send it as well to the feds.
Okay.
Can I answer?
Yeah.
The state also has its own legislation to keep it going in the state, regardless of what the feds do over the next year.
So we want to support that no matter what.
Right,
Yeah.
but this is a short-term stopgap. From what I understand, is 1 year.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote. Ann?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Sean?
No, I, did you get me there?
Yeah, I got you, Sean. I'm waiting for Bonnie.
Aye.
Thank you. Bill?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And yes, it's unanimous.
Okay, the last thing I'd like to do, and then after that, actually, I missed the treasurer's report, so we'll come back to that at the end. But I wanted to share a little update on the Regional School District Planning Board and what's going on there. And obviously, many members of our school committee are also involved in that group. That group met a couple weeks ago and voted. It's a 24-member board, but there were 22 members present. So they voted 16-6 to move forward with option B to study that additionally. And option B is to consolidate the two districts and have a shared high school on the Monument campus, leaving the elementary schools intact. So the group has dug into that a little more. They're going to do some more work on transportation, on likely educational visioning, on community outreach. I may be missing one subcategory on that. And then hope to move. Oh, and then starting to look at a new regional agreement. So that work should be happening. There's a little bit of grant money left to spend this year. The group's applying for additional grant money going forward, and a 16-6 vote is pretty remarkable in terms of movement. So we'll keep working on that and see what happens. Steve or anybody who was there, anything to add?
No, I think you've covered most of it. There's a long way to go, but I think we're making progress. This is 2 years we've been at this, and so we're finally starting to see some fruits of the labor.
Sean, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on consolidation committees with the school board since I've been on it, which is almost 6 years now. And this is the first time there's been any progress.
No, no, pretty remarkable. So we'll keep working. We'll keep working on it.
I'd like to make a motion that we formally endorse the actions of the regional school district and their recommendations in further pursuit.
Do I have a second? Second. Discussion. I think that goes a long way. I think that's really helpful.
So impressive what's happening.
Yeah, it really has. So roll call vote. Ann, Jason,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Bonnie,
Aye.
Bill.
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
and yes, it's unanimous.
Okay, great. Thank
That means a
you.
lot.
Yeah, no, I do too. So the thing I missed, and I'm sorry about this, was the treasurer's report for March of 2022. And I'll let Sharon walk us through that. I don't think so.
Okay. It's pretty straightforward and standard. You'll see in March, we were looking at a surplus of approximately 1,875,563. Today, I worked on another projection based on where we are to date after April's expenditures and what we expect for revenue and any surplus. And it looks like we'll just make the 5%. So I think unlike last year, I don't think we're going to be way over. I think that's a big thing on the first page. If we were to look at the revolving funds and grants, school lunch, the balance is negative as it generally is at this time of the year. I do expect, like last year, because of the additional funding we're getting from the federal government, when people are free, that we will come up pretty close to a positive balance. And then we do have some funds in the operating budget to cover that. All the rest, except for the custodial overtime services, are positive. And that account, you'll often see in the negative because we pay our custodians and then bill out to organizations. As of today, we're actually in a positive position on that account. And finally, for the grants, as you may know, we are in a reimbursement position with grants. We have to spend the funds and then request them monthly. So it doesn't show that we're overspent. It's just that we spend and then have to request the funds at the end of each month. By the end of June 30th, these will all be in a positive position. Questions?
I have a question. So on the revolving fund spreadsheet, the high school revolving fund is at 218 right now? Just 30 in it, right?
Oh, yes. Actually, as of March 31st, it's 138,937.
Oh, okay.
Right? So the opening balance stays the same. That's as of July 1.
Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't, let me just scroll up here then. New balance, expenses, balance. What more do we expect to come out of that 138 for this year?
I would have to ask Carl. That depends on what kind of student activities are happening and what kind of fundraising is happening.
I mean, that fund is usually 6 figures, and now it's kind of like way up there.
The other one to keep an eye on because for almost 25 years, we've not spent any of it as the FFA
Mhm.
fund, which I realize with the building, it's a little tricky, because if we use that, it'll just reduce the amount of money
Mhm.
we'll get from the state. But just keep in mind that we have an FFA capital trust fund that's closing in on $500,000. And we've talked about spending it a few times, but we've never actually touched it.
Mhm.
So eventually, it would be nice to do something with it.
And that's just spent by vote of the school committee, right?
Right.
Correct.
Now, there is, and in the context of a high school project, we have to be careful about this, and this is the thing that Greylock, that happened at Greylock. You need to hold money separate from the project, otherwise,
Get credit.
right?
So when the project is over, we could have a vision of what that money could be used.
But that's not just, we use that for the other two buildings too, correct?
It is from funds from the,
Future Farmers of America,
no, from the plant sale.
plants, yeah.
Oh,
So
it
the
is.
high school, so it
So it's really
really is
high
just
school.
the high school.
Okay.
It was moved into this account because one audit way before I came, there was way too much money. It used to be in the student activity revolving fund, and it was way too much money in there. So the auditors wanted it moved out, and we've been, every year, the excess after the plant sale goes into that account.
It's terrific, it's just we have to have a vision for it,
No.
and we haven't in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
The other, I'm sorry.
Oh, maybe we should have a separate apart or revolving fund tutorial at some, for a lot, because I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
And then maybe some planning on some of, how we're gonna use this money, and have 6 figures of money that's there for the benefit of our students' activities, just sitting there. Doesn't sit well with me,
The 138.
the 138.
Yeah, Sharon,
I voted against every increase in student activity fund we've had,
Look-
or spoke out against it, and then we had the huge balance sitting there, so.
Well, it's all, we can bring in a student activity detail report,
Yeah,
because that's made up of, let's say, the Key Club and Ultimate is in there, and the,
Are there some school
National Honor
scholarships in there?
no,
No.
the National Honor Society. So each of them together adds up to the 138, and you'll see that there's a lot of activity in almost all of the accounts at the school store. So
yeah.
I can bring the detail.
That's what I wasn't actually going to say, so I said maybe a future
Yeah.
meeting. kind
So
of break
do
down
the
some stuff.
fees, the athletic fees go into this?
No, the
No.
athletic
Or
fees
do
go
they
into
go
the
into
athletic
the athletic
revolving
funds?
account.
So that 138 includes like the balance of like the student government.
Student government, right.
So every
student
club that
senate.
has a balance.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so it's not just sitting there doing nothing. It is each account,
Sure.
each sub-account is active every year. And we did go through this year, when Christie's here, she can also add to that. We went through in detail on every account to make sure that they were active, they weren't just sitting there. And if there were clubs that didn't exist anymore, moving that over. We also moved the Spartan, the Joe Spartan, which really is a donation kind of
Yeah.
account.
Mm-hmm.
We moved that into the gifts and donations revolving fund for the high school.
So Sharon, I think Rich actually has a good idea, and I'm not surprised.
She knows it.
Is that, we used to, at one point, go through this pretty thoroughly.
Sure.
You would explain it. We haven't done it. There's a lot of new members. Maybe
Okay.
one of the meetings over the summer, we can just take,
Yeah.
20 minutes, and it used to really explain it really
Okay.
well and clearly what each of those are and how they're spent and who has authority over them. And I think that would be really interesting.
Sure, sure. I did want to point out, and actually kind of led me right into that, talking about who has authority. And Steve and I have talked about the rental revolving accounts. As you can see, we haven't been using them. They were sort of used in the past as a additional funding for the schools, and we held that off because
Well, they were principal's discretionary fund, basically.
And so one of the discussions at a school committee meeting a while ago was, should these be used, because it's funding coming from rental of the property, should these funds be used by facilities and grounds for repairs, additional maintenance items? So that's something else for the school. So we've been holding it until the school committee makes a decision on that, and maybe the buildings and grounds can look at that and then come back to
I
this.
mean, the point of that fund, we're not making a lot of money, but a lot of people use it where it's on some rugs, there's additional cleaning that has to be done, et cetera. And yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good thing. We can talk about.
So I'll do that. I mean, I could do that now, or we can do it when.
No, let's do it all
more
at
people
once.
are- Okay.
I mean, unless it's a rush to do it, then we can do it.
Let's do it all in one sitting.
Yeah,
would
I think
do
that's
it
good.
all at once to get the big picture.
Okay, so that's really it for me. One other thing I forgot to mention, we continue to do well with grants, and Tom Kelly and John Bruno worked on an additional after-school grant and got another $100,000. And what's notable about that one is the city of Boston got $65,000 and we got $100,000. So
And maybe, although you went over to the budget time, maybe at one of the meetings over the summer.
another update
Another
on,
update
yeah.
on all the grants that we have, and just how they're being spent and what the possibilities for the next year. So.
Yeah, good. So that's it for me, except when we get to the personnel report, there are a couple of things I want to say.
Subcommittee report, policy is not met. Jason, at buildings and grounds met?
We have not met, no.
Superintendents? No. Technology is not met, and finance is not met. Right?
We've done that. Sharon and I talked about it. We could strictly, we're looking at maybe a June 2nd.
I will not be here.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you can meet, that's.
Oh, the 61 to the 16th then? One of the two June meetings we're gonna meet, so we'll circulate an email. Do it before school committee like we've been doing.
Yeah, the 16th is fine if you want to.
Why don't we just say the 16th, Bill's nodding and you're nodding?
I think I'm coming back, yeah.
Are you around or you're not?
If I'm not here in person, I will be available on Zoom.
Okay. We can live without you too, Peter, you know that, right?
I know, I'm working on that, letting things go.
Yeah. It's just to plan out what we're gonna
Yeah.
do.
Let's see where we are. District consolidation and sharing, it's really morphed into the regional school district planning board, and we already talked about that. And communication subcommittee, we got a report ready. Peter, go right ahead.
So personnel report, a lot of things connected to Project Connection, both spring work and starting to be summer work. But two that I wanted to mention are a retirement and a resignation. Pat Boland's been our health teacher for many, many years, and she announced that she's retiring at the end of this year. So I'd like to thank her for her work under multiple principals and superintendents. She's done a lot to support adolescents and their development. So we wish her well. And then Dave Edson has worked for us for a year as a science teacher, and he's decided to resign. So we also wish him well.
Thank you. Any old or new business before the committee? Any public comment?
In the chat, there was some typing, and I don't know if people saw that. It ended up being Eileen's cat, and Eileen's cat is working on his or her spelling.
Grammar is terrible. You look at more than that, Eileen.
But so if anybody is in any of the attendees want to speak, you could raise your hand and we'll recognize you.
Seeing no one, by unanimous consent, we are adjourned.
Okay. Yeah. Have a good night, folks.